you ever smiled, looked at someone you love, and said, "Sure, let's do it," while every part of you was quietly screaming, "No way"? Maybe you've been there too. Maybe your cave wasn't an actual cave. Maybe it was retirement, an empty nest, starting over, or saying yes to something that completely terrified you. Because sometimes the scariest places in life aren't made of rock, they're made of uncertainty. A few months ago, our daughter planned a family adventure. She was so excited. Ako naman, excited din. Ito yung dalawang salita na nagpabilis ng tibok ng puso ko. "Ma'am, espelunking tayo." Espelunking? Ako? Really? Tapos hindi pa siya natapos, sabi niya, "After that, Mount Ulap naman tayo." At that moment, I wasn't planning the trip anymore. I was planning my excuse. Now, if you're someone who loves hiking or exploring caves, baka iniisip mo, "Wow, ang saya niyan." Ako, honestly,
Mas gusto ko pa nga ang beach kaysa sa bundok. Give me the sound of waves, a beach chair, a book of juice, and I'm a very happy person.
ang version ko ng adventure ng bata ko, Sipa, Patintero, Gervais, yun na yun. Ang pinakamataas na inakyat ko, puno ng bayabas ng kapitbahay ko. So, if you had told my younger self that one day at 54, I'll be standing in front of the most famous caves in the Philippines, I would have laughed and said, "Mukhang ibang bombe yata ang tinutukoy mo." But here's the funny thing. Deep inside, I already knew. I couldn't back out. Not because I suddenly became brave, but because my children know me, especially my daughter. She grew up hearing me say things like, "Laban lang, kaya mo yan. Don't quit just because life gets hard." Those weren't just words. Those were lessons. Lessons I hope would stay with them long after they no longer needed me to pack their baon or remind them to bring an umbrella. Then one thought hit me. If I've spent my whole life teaching my children to face challenges, to be courageous, to try even when they're afraid, how can I suddenly become the one who says, "Ay, pass muna ako"? Because here's something I've realized. Children don't become who we tell them to be. They become who they watch us become. And if I wanted my daughter to keep believing that courage is a choice, then maybe I needed to choose it too. You know, one of the things nobody really prepares us for is how a relationship with our children changes. One day, they're asking, "Mom, can you help me?" Then somehow, without even noticing, they begin asking, "Mom, gusto mo bang sumama?" Do you hear the difference? The first question asks for protection. The second is an invitation. An invitation to create new memories. An invitation to keep living. Maybe that's why I said yes. Not because I was ready, but because I realized moments like this become more precious the older we all get. Our children become busy building their own lives. Schedules become harder to match. Ang hirap nilang makasama in perfect attendance. So, when your adult child says, "Mom, tara," maybe it's not just an invitation to travel. Maybe it's an invitation to stay connected. And then we arrived to Sumaging Cave. I looked at the entrance. Cold air, darkness, silence. And for one brief moment, I honestly thought, pwede bang picture-picture na lang? Because fear is funny that way. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, "You're too old. You're not ready. Baka di mo kayanin." Maybe you've heard those whispers too. Not inside a cave, but somewhere in your own life. I stood there, looking into the darkness. Then I quietly smiled. Not because I wasn't afraid, but because I finally understood something. Maybe life wasn't asking me to be fearless. Maybe it was simply asking me to take the next step. And that's exactly what I did. The moment I took that first step, something unexpected happened. I didn't suddenly become fearless. Hindi rin nawala ang kaba. Hindi rin naging madali. But the fear stopped making the decisions for me. One careful step became another, then another, and little by little, the cave that looked impossible became a place I was actually walking through. Funny, isn't it? Life rarely asks us to see the whole journey, but most of the time, it simply asks us to trust the next step. Inside Sumaging, everything slowed down. Every step mattered. Every hand placement mattered. You couldn't rush. You couldn't pretend. You had to be fully present and realized, isn't that exactly how life works? The season that change us the most aren't the ones where everything goes according to plan. They're the ones that force us to slow down, to breathe, to trust, to keep moving, even when we can't see very far ahead. Maybe that's why some of life's greatest lessons aren't found under bright skies. Sometimes they're found in the darkest places. Somewhere inside that cave, without even realizing it, I stopped thinking about my age. I stopped wondering whether I belonged there. Instead, I found myself smiling because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't just someone's mom or someone's wife. I was simply Bombi, still learning, still growing, still discovering. And maybe that's what this season of life is really about. Not proving that we're still young, but reminding ourselves that we're still alive. That there are still new memories waiting to be made, still dreams waiting to be explored, still parts of ourselves waiting to be rediscovered. Maybe your cave isn't sumaging. Maybe it's learning to live after retirement. Maybe it's forgiving someone, starting a new hobby, building a business, traveling for the first time, learning to dance, falling in love again with life, or even with your spouse. Whatever your cave looks like, I hope you don't let fear decide for you. Because sometimes the biggest miracle isn't reaching the destination, it's discovering who you become along the way. Before we end, I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've always wanted to do, but fear has been taking you out of it? Share in the comments because you never know. Your story might be the encouragement someone else needs today. And if you're beginning a brand new season of life, whether you're an empty nester, a parent, or someone simply learning to say yes again, I hope you'll join me on this journey. Subscribe and let's discover together how beautiful life can still become. People often say life begins at 40. For me, maybe it began again at 54. Not because I entered a cave, but because I finally stopped saying I'm too old and started saying what else is possible. This is where life becomes beautiful. Because life doesn't end at the emptiness. It simply leads us to our next mountain. I honestly thought surviving the cave was already enough adventure for one vacation. But 2 days later, my daughter looked at me, smiled and said, "Mom, ready na ba tayo sa Mount Ulap?" Let's just say that mountain didn't just test my legs. It reminded me why choosing the right life partner becomes one of life's greatest blessings. I'll tell you that story in our next episode.